In Arkham Asylum, two guards are surprised to see Batman. But something is terribly wrong. Batman never uses guns. Until now. Batman enters the Joker's cell and the Crown Prince of Crime can't believe that the Dark Knight is finally here to kill him. But he's not. It's the Batman who laughs. Ha! Hey everyone, if you like Comic Island, be sure to subscribe to our channel and check out our Patreon page, the link to which you can find in the video description below. Today we're talking about the Batman Who Laughs solo series, a brief stint with interesting implications for what we can expect out of the Year of the Villain. But if you don't know who this character is, Joey made a whole video covering him, and you can find that link by clicking on the button here in the top corner of the screen. So as long as everybody's caught up on this character, we can just focus on the solo series for this video. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at this thing. Gordon doesn't know how the Joker pulled it off, but it was only a decoy being held in Arkham. Batman warns Jim that the Batman Who Laughs simply isn't a version of Batman similar to the Joker. It's Batman, with every memory, every bit of training, every skill and ability, but without any sense of moral code or compass. He has killed and conquered world after world in the Dark Multiverse, and is now working with a mysterious Grim Knight on Earth for unknown purposes. Meanwhile, Batman is disturbed by the arrival of a dead, older Bruce Wayne in the Gotham City morgue. Whatever the Batman Who Laughs is planning, Batman can't see it. He needs help. As Batman regroups in the Batcave, he and Alfred are confronted by the real Joker. Batman's old enemy draws a gun and fires. It was a trick gun, meant to unleash a toxin hidden away in the Joker's heart. The only way to beat the Batman Who Laughs is to become him. Alfred looks on, dismayed, as Batman begins to laugh. I had very mixed feelings about the prospect of a Batman Who Laughs solo series when it was first announced. It was already one of the few problems I had with the story that introduced the character to begin with, Dark Knight's Metal. He's a cool enough character in his own right, but out of all the Dark Knights I found him the least compelling. His perspective was the one I wanted to hear from the least, with me being much more interested in what characters like a twisted Bruce Wayne who had the Speed Force or a Green Lantern ring thought of the world around them instead. And a solo series would be a great way to explore these things. They often allow us to get narration from the perspective of that character in particular. While I personally am not the biggest fan of the Batman Who Laughs, as I view him as something we've already seen before in the form of Owlman and other evil versions of Bruce Wayne, this was one aspect I was looking forward to about this series. Seeing a story told from the perspective of the Batman Who Laughs, even if I would prefer other Dark Knights, but especially from somebody with a background in horror like Scott Snyder writing it, was appealing to me. So you can imagine my dismay to find the Batman Who Laughs, in spite of the name, very much is a Batman story. Following the first issue, where Batman was hit with a heavy dose of Joker gas, Alfred was forced to save both Clown Prince and Dark Knight. Batman was dosed with every type of anti-Joker toxin the two had in the Batcave, though that would only stave off the transformation for about a week, and was already affecting Bruce's behavior. The Joker was given life-saving surgery by a very reluctant Alfred, and so a very sick Batman began to investigate things in full. More and more dead alternate versions of Bruce Wayne began cropping up in Gotham, and Batman concludes the Batman Who Laughs seems to be using them to concoct some sort of serum that transforms people into the worst versions of themselves, essentially forcing normal DC characters to become their Dark Multiverse counterparts. Shortly after that, the Grim Knight shows up, the Batman who fully weaponized his world's Wayne enterprises and has become, as the Batman Who Laughs describes him, a total war version of Batman. So already, pretty early on, while this wasn't the series I was expecting, it really offers up some pretty cool ideas. Yeah, I wasn't super keen on the idea of it being a Batman story, but I hadn't really considered this would be something the Batman Who Laughs would be able to do, and honestly, it makes his character a lot more interesting. Producing more characters from the Dark Multiverse is a very cool idea indeed. As I read more and more of the series, I'm really starting to see why the focus was on regular Batman, and that's where things really started to pick up for me. It all started falling apart so quickly. The Grim Knight once again attacked Batman and managed to kidnap Jim Gordon, while the Joker managed to escape custody in spite of his heart still being opened and exposed. Alfred later finds Bruce in a cave below Wayne Manor. It is here that the plan started. Everything. Bruce's mad idea to be brave, step out of the darkness, and teach people to be better. Alfred goes alarmed when he discovers the anti-Joker toxins have all been smashed. He begs Bruce not to do this, that Batman and the plan is forever. But the thing is, plans change. So it's my opinion, this is a pretty strong series overall. It's not the best thing I've ever read. For example, I had issues with the art of this series at times, particularly the first few issues, where it really doesn't feel like the artist, Jock, is going for it the way I know he can. Some facial expressions are wonky, but what really bothers me is the structure of some of Jock's paneling here. Normally, a good comic facilitates eye movements to allow the reader to flow between text and dialogue smoothly. There's actually plenty of great examples of that in The Batman Who Laughs. That's a big part of basic comic book artwork. But some pages, particularly in issue 2 of this series, really seem to have a problem with that. I found myself darting back and forth with a lot of these pages in a way that really didn't facilitate a good reading experience. The art doesn't feel as intense or as surreal as a series like this should be either, which puts it at odds with the dynamic coloring and excellent lettering, and that's a real shame, because I really love the lettering in this comic, doing an excellent job at conveying the differences between all the different Batmen who are transforming and hopping in and out of different disguises at time. It really helps to give us a sense of where Batman is while he's being infected with this Joker gas for the rest of this series. It's also after issue 4 that we really start to see some art with that intensity that I was looking for. Once we get into Batman using his own version of the Batman Who Laughs visor, things really start cooking, and then the nature of the series starts to make sense to me. We get a solid, strong understanding of what the Batman Who Laughs is like and how he sees the world, entirely from the perspective of Batman. It works, and it works very well, in a way that telling the story from the perspective of the Batman Who Laughs wouldn't. The Batman Who Laughs then reveals he plans to use the Bruce Waynes from the alternate universes to transform all of Gotham into Dark Multiverse-like beings. Batman manages to track down the Batman Who Laughs to Batgate Prison, where Batman is promptly lured into a trap and shot by multiple guards, while the Batman Who Laughs escapes after summoning another alternate Bruce Wayne. Batman only survives the experience by convincing the officers that he truly is the Batman Who Laughs, threatening to slaughter each of them and their families if any of them try to stop him, and decapitating the other Bruce Wayne's corpse to prove he's being serious. Clearly, Batman's really feeling the effects of the Joker gas at this point. Meanwhile, Jim is having a great time in the custody of the Grim Knight. Before Jim eventually escapes and the big showdown begins. At this point, there are many cool moments that have happened throughout the series. 2 scenes really stand out in this regard, one being a scene where the Batman Who Laughs confronts an alternate version of the Court of the Owls, and another where Jim Gordon and his son James, the latter being seen as trying to reform himself throughout the series, donning prototype Batman Beyond suits and duking it out with the Grim Knight. Things go off the rails in the best way possible here, at which point Jock as the artist really starts hitting his stride. I don't want to go over the whole ending, but suffice to say, Batman brutally breaks the Batman Who Laughs' jaw before giving him the beatdown of the lifetime. Meanwhile, James stabs the Grim Knight a lot. The Batman Who Laughs is captured, and Batman receives a handy-dandy blood transfusion, thus returning him back to normal. Also, I think the Joker saves the day? Look, I'm not going to pretend I fully understand what happened in this ending. I probably will have to revisit it again. And let's just say Scott Snyder's not always the best at ending his stories, but like the best of his stories, the journey was insane right up to that point. And if you're like me, that makes it totally worth it. Besides, if the Joker really was the hero of this story, if I understand that plot point correctly, and it makes sense given how much he hates the Batman Who Laughs, it's a pretty great ending on the whole. I liked and would recommend you check out this series yourself. I'm sure if there was some big twist at the ending of this series, we would cover it in a separate video because it's going to tie into the Year of the Villain heavily. Because if any characters were turned into Dark Multiverse versions of themselves, that would be a pretty big deal, and could potentially throw a wrench into Lex Luthor's plans with regards to the Year of the Villain. We do know Batman Who Laughs knows about all of that stuff, and seems to have some sort of plan concerning it, even though he currently is in prison. But, obviously we don't have anything like that to talk about, so let me know what you think in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics. Jim Gordon walks down a dark alleyway. A cadet asks if he's okay. Jim replies, he's never been better.